there because I can look over here to see comments, but it's just as easy for me to look up there. So if you see me looking around, that's why. I'm old. I get easily confused.
Yeah, no problem at all. Welcome to the 8th ever episode of the BP Show featuring Brian Pearson. I'm here with my former English professor, tiny house enthusiast, TikTok star with over 150,000 followers. And we are live on TikTok, by the way. So if you'd like to give us a shout out, say what's up, send a comment, you're more than welcome to just send it in the comments. Not only professional poker player, but World Series of Poker champion, Tiny House Tom. Tom, thank you so much for joining the show today.
Sure. Glad to have you. That was quite a hype up there. I don't know if I'm going to live
Oh,
up
you
to
bet,
it,
man.
but
You deserve it, man. So we'll start by asking. So I mean, given that intro, we already know you're doing a bunch of stuff. So
yeah.
Just kind of give us a rundown on how all that stuff's going for you.
I mean, things are going pretty well. Poker. So I had a banner year last year, and then this year poker hasn't been as great. But overall, I'm doing all right. I took fourth in a World Series of Poker ring event. About 3 weeks ago now is another PLO ring. God, I was destined to win that thing too, and I just got screwed in the end. But yeah, things are going well. Tiny houses are going good. I'm starting a new business. I'm building mobile saunas, right? Sauna and cold plunge delivered to you, rental for the night. So, family's healthy, poker's going well. Things are going good.
Awesome, man. That's great to hear. Now, you've been to Vegas. You played in a bunch of World Series of Poker events, and I want to start by talking a little poker first. And we could just play
I'll
it
talk
by ear.
poker all night, bro. I will talk.
Yeah, we could talk poker all night, but I want to get to the other stuff as well. I want to start with the poker stuff. So,
cool.
You haven't only played professional poker; you played World Series of Poker. I mean, that's like NBA for basketball, MLB for baseball, and it's the biggest stage. So, I want to know what it was like being at the same table with these professionals, and not only being at the same table with them, but hanging with them. And then not only that, you're knocking them out and sending them home as well. So what's going through your mind when you're at the table with these guys, but you're also knocking them out of their chip stack?
I mean, it's a trip though. So the thing that I like the most about poker is just that, right? Like, so if you think about it, you can't just jump on the court with Michael Jordan, right? You know what I mean? You can't just jump on a football field and play against the Chiefs or whatever. But the cool thing about poker is if you've got the cash and you've got the balls, you could just show up and play against the best in the world. And it's a lot of fun, right? And it's so at first, I think it's a little intimidating when you're playing against these guys that you see on TV, Daniel Negreanu's at your table. You know what I mean? Like, you see a lot of people that you've seen on TV for years and years and years. And then all of a sudden you're playing at the table with them. And it's a little intimidating at first, but then as soon as you start playing again, I mean, it's just poker. You know what I mean? It's just poker. I have to say I play a little more reckless against the big time pros just because fuck them. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's, I mean, I want to get some TV time, right? And if I can get it by knocking out D-Eggs, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and I feel like that's how a lot of pros play nowadays. It's really loose. And, I mean, yeah, it's like you might as well go big or go home at that stage. And, you've also, like, you've played with the pros, but you've had success. You've won. You play in the World Series of Poker Tournament Champions. I mean, that's a big deal. That's awesome stuff. And I also want to know, because I've been to Vegas and played at all the casinos. I have my favorites. I play at all the big ones. But you've played in pro tournaments, so that's different than just playing in a normal low stake cash game. So what kind of casinos are your favorite when you go to Vegas?
Honestly, I don't really care. You know what I mean? Like, there are people who are like, oh, they love, well, nobody really loves the Horseshoe, because the Horseshoe, the Paris, the whole WSOP switch to the Horseshoe in Paris, I wasn't super stoked about. The Rio was a dump. I don't know how long you've been going to Vegas, but the Rio was an absolute dump. But the nice thing about it was it had really easy parking and it was off the strip. So you could come in like, so when we go, like last year, we stayed there for 6 weeks or something. So when we went, we rented a condo in Summerlin. And what I liked about being off the strip is you could kind of come in through the back way. You know what I mean? So you missed all the traffic and stuff, being right downtown or being right on the strip, right in the middle of the strip with all the F1 bullshit going on. It's kind of a hassle now. I'm not super pumped about that. But overall, I mean, honestly, at this point, because I've been going to Vegas for a long time, right? Probably since before you were born. So Vegas really isn't that exciting to me. You know what I'm saying? So one casino is just the same as the next to me. You know what I mean? It's a job. I'm going into work. You know what I mean? Like I don't really mess around at the casinos when I'm not playing. Like I go in, I play, I get out. You know what I mean? I like the Aria. I've had luck at the MGM, even though I'm not a huge fan of the place. But they're all kind of the same, you know, they're all the same shitty carpeting and the same smelly people, right?
Yeah, so I agree with you 100%. Aria is actually my favorite. I played the best at Aria when I was here, and I also play at Bellagio, which is it's between Aria and Bellagio. Bellagio is super cool because I mean that's like the poker staple. I mean, you got the Legends Room with guys like Phil Ivey and Doyle Brunson hanging up on the wall, and then Aria, you have pros that play there too. But it's just a phenomenal place. And when I played at MGM, I wasn't all that impressed with it either. And when I was playing there, and this isn't a discredit to the casino at all, but in terms of like the layout and just how it was, I wasn't a big fan of it. And I went in short stack when I was playing, just to save money and just try to make as much money as I can. And the guys at my table had way bigger stacks than I did. So, and I didn't get any hands. So it's hard to win it. Like poker involves strategy, but you also got to have the hands. When I was at Aria, I was playing really well. I came across pocket jacks, and I had a few razors that called me,
Jacks.
and I had a guy that called my all in with pocket sevens, and he hit a running straight on the river. It's like 85%. Like I'm supposed to win that hand 85, 90% of the time. I didn't play that hand bad. I just got unlucky. And that's pure Vegas. And you could play really good poker, but get unlucky. But if it's guys like you or just solidified pros like you who put in the hours and know the strategy and calculate the odds and stuff, then you're going to do better than most people the majority of the time. So that's just kind of how it goes. Venetian I really liked. I pretty much broke even at Venetian. I played for a couple hours, so that was okay. Didn't get any hands at Bellagio. Played in a tournament at Caesars. Didn't get any hands. So that's kind of my Vegas rundown for you. So in terms of your stuff, what was the most exciting tournament you played in? Because you played in a bunch
the Tournament of Champions are always the best, right? So the Tournament of Champions, what's cool about the Tournament of Champions is you can't buy in. I don't care who you are, you Phil Ivey, whatever. You can't buy into that tournament. You have to win an event. You have to win an event that year, right? So everybody in that field has won an event. Everyone in that field is a WSOP champion. So every person you knock out, you're knocking out a WSOP champion. So the Tournament of Champions for me are the absolute best. They're super fun, and they're a free buy, right? They're a free roll, so you get in for free. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to buy in because to win, by winning an event, you win your buy-in. And those ones are super fun. The first one I played in, one of the coolest things. So I'm small fry in poker, right? Like obviously I'm a nobody, like compared to the real deal guys. But the thing that I'm the most proud of in my poker career, well, two things. But the one is I played in 2 Tournament of Champions back to back in years back to back, which I thought that was pretty neat. I haven't won an event this year, so I think my streak might be broken. But 2 Tournament of Champions back to back. And the first Tournament of Champions, I think that's the one that my buddy K2 Alex shot the video about. I think I ended up making it into, I don't know, 30th place or something, 40th place out of like 800 people. So that was a deep run, and that was a lot of fun because everybody there is a champion. So like you're Googling your table, right, to see who, to see your table draw. The guy next to me's got 6.2 million in fucking career winnings. You know what I mean? The guy on the other side's got 3.9. This guy's largest single game win is $1 million. It's like, wow, it's a lot of fun. And so to run deep in that tournament, I was real proud of that.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff. And you've, like I said earlier, you've had success playing poker. Like you've had some great cashes, and uh, so I wanted to ask, kind of, and there's players that are different. Like some don't want to give their strategy, some do. I've always liked Phil Ivey. I've always looked up to Phil Ivey. I mean, I like a bunch of pros. Like I like watching poker, and Phil Ivey's my all-time favorite. He's like the Tiger Woods of poker to me. Like just he has that
He's the
persona.
best. He's the
Yeah,
best. I
he
mean,
has
if
that
anyone
killer instinct. He's out there to take your money and win, and he goes out there and does it. Now, when I watch Phil Ivey, and I've even watched instructional videos on him, I remember watching the video, and he said that they asked him, how he wins so much, and like what are his kind of his points of view on how to play. He said that he recommends that you just put in the hours, and he goes straight off field. Now, there's a lot of players, and maybe I'm sure Phil Ivey does this as well, even though he said he goes more off field. There's a lot of pros that really get into the numbers side of it and look at statistics and odds. So,
GTO, game
yeah,
theory.
yeah. So, who's a pro that you look up to, and what's your strategy when it comes to playing? Are you more of a numbers guy, or do you go off kind of what Ivy said and go off feel and hours?
Look at me. Do I look like a fucking game theory optimization guy?
Yeah,
Come on.
you do,
I'm a
man.
throwback.
Dude,
No, I'm a
you
throwback.
cashed in the World Series of Poker, man.
Yeah,
Tournament
no,
champions. Yeah.
I'm not a GTO guy. I'm definitely not a GTO.
Ah, man.
Like I think that you have to know some basic numbers. You have to know some basic numbers, because you just do. You know what I mean? You have to know there's certain times when the cards play themselves, right? And it's important that it's kind of like blackjack. You got to have basic theory in blackjack before you start playing blackjack. But my thing about poker is, and different people have different styles, right? Because Ivy shows up at the table and he's staring everybody down, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's his thing. Whereas if you look at D-Negs is like, hey, what's up, everybody? D-Negs wants you comfortable, right? D-Negs wants you to like him. That's my style. My style of poker is exactly who I am in real life. The same guy I am in the classroom, right, as a professor, is the same guy that I am at the poker table. I'm having a good time. I'm laughing. I'm joking. I'm you know me, right? Like I'm always bullshitting, you know what I mean? I'm getting to know everybody at the table. I'm getting all up in their business. Hey, tell me about this, tell me about that. I'm telling them all about my shit, you know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, I'm Tiny House Tom, you know what I mean? I build tiny houses out in Michigan, you know what I'm saying? And that's what works for me, right? Different people have different styles. Like I just wouldn't have any fun sitting there with my hat pulled down and my sunglasses on and not talking to people. You know what I mean? And I'll be honest, my style works for me because I'm likable in short doses, right? Like I can make a table like me for a couple hours, you know what I mean? And so like if you think about it, if you're laughing, if you're joking, if you're having a good time, if you like this guy at the table, right? And you've got the nuts and you shove on him like, hey, look, dude, you don't want to call. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to call. And I have had that happen where people are like, look, dude, I don't want to knock you out. I'm having a good time with you. You should fold, right? And the table might get mad about it, but as long as they don't say anything specific, there's really nothing that the floor can do about it. So I'll fold and then they show me the nuts. You know what I mean? So it's like, this is my philosophy in poker as in life. Why not have more people like you than not? You know what I mean? My job, like for me, it's not about going out and intimidating people. I'm here to have a good time. Sometimes I'm half drunk. I might have smoked a little bit before I played. Like I'm real loose. Like I'm not, I don't take it that seriously, honestly. You know what I mean? Because you can. If you take poker seriously, you're going to go fucking crazy. Because so the WSOP event that I was in that I took fourth place in a couple of weeks ago. So I was at the final table and I was dominating. I had more chips than the rest of the table combined and doubled, I believe. I know I had more than the rest of the table combined. I'm pretty sure I had more than the rest of the table combined and doubled. I hit the nut straight, pot it, dude calls. The turn comes. There is a flush draw out there. So I pot it. Dude calls again. It was an all in at that point. And dude ended up catching. So when he called on the flop, he had a pair. When he called on the turn, he had two pair. I had the nut straight. He called it all in on the riv. He catches a freaking boat. So I was like 98% to win on the flop. I was 90% to win on the turn, and then I lose and it cripples me for the tournament. So if like you take poker too seriously, you're going to throw yourself off a fucking parking garage. You know what I'm saying? So like my thing about it is you play the best you can, and in the end, the cards just kind of do what they do. You know, I played a lot of pool. I played a lot of, I wouldn't say professional pool, but I played pool for money all through college. And what I like about pool versus poker is there's no variance. You know what I mean? There's no like, oh, you just got, you were a 98% favorite. Now you lose. Now in pool, you win or you win, you win on your own merits or you lose on your own merits. The worst thing about poker is just getting screwed when you've played everything perfectly and you still get the bag of dicks.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, man. No, that's great stuff there. Great insight. Um, what are your, so I mean, you've played in big time events and you've had success, and it seems like you love the game. I mean,
Yeah.
like it seems like you've been playing a lot of poker, from what I've seen. So,
I started playing poker in 1976 at 6 years old.
oh yeah,
So
yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I started early too, and I love the game as well. Now, what are your future plans for poker? Are you going to keep on playing in these World Series of Poker events?
yeah, I think so. Like, so I've been playing online quite a bit, but online is super sketchy. Like, so there's obviously a bunch of collusion going on online. I don't think that like I'm shocking the world. It's not like a hot take. Some people are going to get mad, but there is a shit ton of collusion on the WSOP.com. A shit ton. And anyone tells you that they're not, they're either lying or they're idiots. You know what I'm saying? So I backed off online poker a little bit, other than for like ring events, because I want to win another ring. I want to go back to the Tournament of Champions. But this summer live, I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna go out for 3 weeks and see how it goes. I'm definitely gonna be playing in some WSOP like bracelet events. But I also found, and maybe I shouldn't tell. Well, hopefully not a
Hey,
whole
it's
lot.
up to you, man. It's your call.
So I found this sweet little tournament last year. So what they are is they're basically a satellite tournament. They have a different name for them, but they're a satellite tournament for bigger tournaments, right? Oh, they're landmark. That's what they're called. They're called a landmark tournament. So you buy into this tournament for $500, right? And you sit down with 1,000 chips. Well, once you turn that 1,000 chips into 5,000 chips, you just cash out. Like you made $5,000 and you're done. Boom. So you don't have to grind the whole tournament out. You're not there all night. You know what I'm saying? And the nice thing about that tournament is they give you they give you your winnings in poker chips. Do you know what the significance of that, as opposed to paying you out cash?
What's that?
You don't have to pay taxes on it. You can claim it if you want to. You don't have to claim it if you don't want to, right? So that's kind of a nice thing. I found those and I banked 2 of those in 3 days. So I won $10,000 in 2 days on these tournaments, and I was only playing for a grand total of like 3.5 hours. Like it's the best format. Like for ROI, just return on your investment, it is by far the best investment because, so I told you I ran deep, like top 40, let's just say, I don't remember exact numbers, but top 40 in the Tournament of Champions. And that tournament only paid me like $8,000. And I had to grind that fucker out for like 2 days. I played like 12, 14 hours on the first day and then like 6 or 8 hours on the next day for $8,000. I think it was $8,000, something like that, $8,000. Well, this other tournament I played for an hour and a half and I win 5 G's and I'm out. Oh my God, dude, I'm basing my whole trip around those next year. I'm going to be playing those every night.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure, man. And so you've told us about, you've given us some great stuff about your poker experience in the World Series of Poker. What is there a certain hand that you can recall? Like, because I remember when I was watching your mini doc with Alex, you mentioned that you knocked out a pro. Is that, can you recall that hand for us? Is that your best hand you play, or is there another hand where you knocked out a pro, or you just like a certain hand better than that one?
So here's the thing about that. Nobody remembers their big wins. Nobody does. I don't even remember what you're talking about, quite honestly. No, I really don't. But I can tell you my last crushing fucking loss, and I can tell you exactly how it played out, right? Nobody remembers the big hands that they win because it is what it is, right? But man, it's those ones that you lose are so painful. So I'll tell you the painful story. So this was 2 summers ago. It was my last night in Vegas. I'd been out there for 6 weeks. I did okay that summer. Not great, not horrible. But it was my last night. And I had like, I don't know, $4,000 left or something, 4,500 left in my like piss away money. So I went to the King's room. I went to the high stakes in the WSOP. They have this like room within the room. It's the high stakes folks. So I sat down at the 25-50 pot limit Omaha table, right? Like I say, $4,000, let's say something like that. I forget how the hand played out in the beginning, but somebody potted it. I ended up calling. I had ace, ace, jack 10. The flop comes ace. No, wait, I had shit. I can't remember it now. I'm flustered because I'm on camera. Long and short of it is I flopped a boat. I flopped the top boat, got it all in on the turn. Dude called with nothing but a set, and he rivered a higher boat than me. And it was a one outer.
Jeez.
He had 2.5%, and it was for like $12,000 on my last.
Oh man.
So it's like 12 G's isn't like the end of the world, but man, that would have been
No.
that
Oh,
would have
that'd
been a
have
nice
been
way to
awesome.
cap off the trip. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and when you have a boat, you're likely to win the majority of the time. So when somebody gets a boat that's bigger than yours, you're like,
And
what the heck?
what it was is I think I had kings full is what I ended up having, and he ended up having aces full. So it was like it was everyone at the table was sickened by it. Just
Yeah. Oh
sickened
yeah.
by it. You know what I mean? Because we've all
Yeah.
been there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
you know, and like I don't begrudge the guy. You know, I'm not mad at anybody because there's those people get mad, they throw shit and storm off. I'm not that guy, but it sucked.
Oh yeah, man. For sure. So what when you're out there for a World Series of Poker, what kind of stuff are you doing to kind of like ease your mind and to just kind of like enjoy Vegas while you're there?
Well, I always take my family with me, right? So I take my wife and my kid with me. So like when I'm not playing poker, I'm doing like kid stuff. Like we've got this favorite mall that we go to. It's right by the Horseshoe. I can't remember the name of the street, but it's like 3 blocks from the Horseshoe. And they have it's like the T-Rex Center. Well, they have like a climbing wall in there, and they have a little indoor racetrack, like go-kart track. They have a little train that you can ride, like a kid's train that drives through the wall. So like when I'm not doing poker stuff, I'm doing family stuff. I'm kicking it by the pool with my wife and my kid because the condo that we stay at in Summerlin has a little pool there. You know what I mean? We actually have friends there that like my kid made friends with another kid there. They're like pen pals now and stuff. So when we go there, we hang out with their family and we go to like their family picnics and stuff. So like it's like visiting family when we go
Yeah,
back to. Yeah.
that's awesome, man. And just want to mention again, we're live on TikTok, by the way, for
We
Tiny
are.
House Tom.
Speaking of which, I'm going to check TikTok and see if
Yeah. Check TikTok, see what comments we have.
yeah.
Tiny House Tom, 150,000 followers. We're currently live on TikTok. It's been great talking poker. Uh, I want to get into, and we can talk some poker again, but
Sure.
I
Yeah.
want to get into the TikTok stuff. Now, you're doing all this stuff. You're doing poker. You're doing the tiny house stuff. You're doing the sauna stuff. I saw you.
I make
Yeah, you make pens. Yeah, I was just going to mention you make
check it
pens.
out.
Like, dude, that's awesome.
That's
So,
made out of Fordite. So this is actually made out of automobile paint.
oh
Layers
man,
and layers and layers of automobile paint.
that is antique stuff right there, man. That looks
Interesting.
awesome. So you're doing all this stuff,
Mhm.
and obviously that's a big reason why you're so big on TikTok. But what would you like? How would you say you got so big on TikTok?
Honestly, I have no fucking idea. I mean, I'll tell you. So my niece was living with us just before COVID hit, right? And she was big on TikTok. They do the dances and stuff, you know what I mean? And I always thought it was funny and it was cool, you know what I mean? Because like there was a lot of interesting stuff on there because so TikTok catches a lot of shit for whatever, but like there's a lot of cool content on there if you want to find it, right? So my niece was like, dude, you should get on TikTok. I think people would like to see what you do around the farm. And I'm like, who's going to want to watch an old fat guy? You know what I'm saying? But she's like, do it. So I got on there and I think this was during the pandemic. The big breakthrough video that I had, I make chapsticks, right? Out of our beeswax. I'm a beekeeper as well. And so I shot this video of me making chapstick, right? Fat guy in a kitchen making chapstick out of beeswax. Across all the platforms that ended up getting like 11 million views. And so overnight, my TikTok blew up. You know what I mean? Like before that, I think I had, I don't know, 3,000 or 4,000 followers or something. And I had like 100,000 followers overnight. It was crazy. It was crazy. And my content is not super exciting as my friends who are on here right now.
Yeah. No, that's great. And I was gonna mention, I wanted to like, you know,
Hey,
I,
oh,
I
by the
want.
way, I'm going to interrupt you just for a second. Hey,
Go ahead.
Trains, my buddy Trains is on TikTok moderating for me. Thank you, Trains. I appreciate it. And
Thanks, Train.
if anyone does have any questions, feel free to shout them out, and I'll get back to you. I'm just kind of rambling. You see, I'm turning my head here because I can see the TV screen. So,
Yeah.
Who's Your Daddy's on there? What's up, Hoosier? And thanks a lot, Trains, for coming out. And Jen is in here as well. How you doing, Jen? So anyway, so back to it. Sorry about
Awesome.
that.
Awesome. No, I was just actually transitioning into that kind of thing. Like I wanted to, you know, get our names out there. I don't know how much you want to get your name out there, but in terms of, I mean, you're already big on TikTok, Instagram. Like I want my Instagram to get bigger. So if you're to all the TikTok people out there, you want to follow me on Instagram. That's like the thing that I'm on the most. I mean, I check Facebook and stuff. I barely ever post on Facebook. Uh, Tom, you've got me on TikTok, which I'm more than interested to continue with TikTok and grow my
TikTok's a
TikTok.
platform. TikTok, you get a lot of growth fast. Instagram, it's a slog. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess the thing is for me too, like my content is kind of garbage. My content isn't terribly interesting. So it's not super appealing. It's kind of niche. You know what I mean? On Instagram. But what I like about TikTok is you do get a lot of organic growth. But I'll for sure, when we're done with this, I'll for sure make sure to tag both your Instagram and your TikTok in all of the posts for this. So we'll try and blow you up. We're trying to get Brian up to 1,000 on TikTok too, so we can go
Yeah.
live
So we could go live. Yeah.
and not have to do this weird, funky setup that we have. Because like right now, I have like a camera over here, and it's on the iPad, and I'm behind it, and it's all kinds of wonky.
Yeah. We'll get it figured out. And the reason I mentioned that really is, I mean, of course, like, I mean, who doesn't want their social media to get big? I know I want mine to, especially when I have a show that I'm trying to grow. Like, and this is a great outlet for me having somebody like you, Tom, to, do a show with and put me on live on TikTok. So I really appreciate that. And
Yeah, of course. Like
you
I
know,
say too, I've got some student athletes in my classes. I'll be sure to hit them up and see if they want to come onto the cast. I'm sure they will.
yeah,
I've got a few basketball players, a couple of baseball players. Yeah, so I've got some other athletes too. So I'll throw the word out, and if they're interested, I'll link you guys up. Because why not? I mean,
yeah,
exposure for everybody is just good. Like for me, I don't give a shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I
yeah,
don't care. Like for
yeah.
you guys and
Well,
for them, like to get your cast off the ground and really kind of get it kicking. And they as young athletes, they want to get their name and likeness out there
mhm.
too, right? So
Yeah. No, this is a great platform. And yeah, so if to all the TikTok people watching out there, follow me on Instagram at underscore Brian Pearson. That's underscore BRIANPIERSON, all one word. And if you want to follow Tiny House Tom on Instagram, it's at Tiny House Tom, all one word, how it's spelled. Tom,
I'm
thank you
pretty
so much
easy. My
again.
beard looks fucking epic like that, bro. I
Dude,
like that.
you've
I don't
been
know if
rocking
you
that
or not.
beard since you were rocking that beard when I was in your class. Like that beard has been going strong for years now.
So my kid is going to be 12 years old this year, right? 12. Yeah, 12 years old this year. And I started letting it grow because I've always had a beard like since I got out of the military. But I started letting it grow when we got pregnant. So right now in its current incarnation, it's about 12 years old-ish.
That's awesome, man. I
Oh,
love
by
it.
the way, I meant to tell you too. I don't know if you're interested, but I did bring my WSOP rings down. I don't know if
Oh
you
yeah, show them, show
yeah.
them.
So they're super disappointing. They're absolutely
No,
nothing fucking exciting.
dude, it's
Uh,
hardware. It's
they're like
hardware.
yeah. Well, I mean that's the cool thing, right? So
World Series of Poker hardware, man.
I'll stick them both on. That's the
Dude,
thing. Like, so that's why I keep playing online is because I like winning stuff. Like money
yeah,
is great.
that's
Money,
elite stuff right there.
baby rings.
Yeah.
So
Hey, you're gonna be like Tom Brady eventually, and you're gonna be flashing you're gonna have rings on all your fingers and your thumb, and we're gonna
yeah,
be
but
on
I'll
here
be
and
honest, rings are garbage, right? I want a fucking bracelet. It's kind of
yeah, oh yeah,
but yeah.
yeah,
So
man,
see, so I want an online PLO event. So
yeah,
nothing
dude, that's awesome, man. That is awesome. Like, it's hard to like. People need to realize how hard it is
oh,
to
it's so
not
hard
only compete in the World Series of Poker, but to win
to
an
win,
event.
dude.
That's insane.
It's like 60% skill and 40% luck. I
Yep.
mean, it's like, because the fields are so deep, you know, you're wading through 3,000 and 4,000 people. That's a lot of landmines to face. That's why you'll see a lot of poker pros. They don't play anything other than the high stakes events anymore. Because in a high stakes event, you'll have 30 or 40 people. They all know each other. You know, there's no real landmines there. You know, DNEG's trying to navigate a field of 4,000, you know, semi-pro, amateur, fucking recreational players that all want to say they knocked out DNEGs. That's why those high roller guys, they stick to the high roller tournaments. They don't roll around in the mud with the rest of us fucking proletariat. You know what I'm saying? Because there's too much.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean the pros normally play different than the amateurs. I mean, you know, that's just how it is. And like Phil Hellmuth, he hates getting knocked out by a pro, but could you imagine Phil Hellmuth getting knocked out by an amateur? He would go nuts.
I've
He
seen
would
it
lose
happen.
it.
I've seen it happen
Yeah.
live. It was hilarious. Yeah, he was not happy about it. He is, you know, so it's really funny. So Phil Ivey is just as scary in person as he is on TV. Dean Eggs, Daniel Negreanu, is just as nice in real life as he comes across on the internet.
Mhm.
And Phil Hellmuth is just as much of a whiny bitch in person as he is on the TV. It's, you
He's the
know,
poker brat.
yeah, no, he is, and he is arguably I'll say the most winning, because a lot of people, you know, he wants to call himself the greatest ever. He's the most winning a World Series of Poker events for sure, by far. You know, is he top 10 anymore? Even probably not. You know what I mean? That's just time. You know what I mean? The game just
Mhm.
evolves.
Yeah. I mean, and there's a lot of great pros out there like Doyle Brunson, Phil Ivey, Gus Hansen, you know, the list goes on. So yeah, man. I mean, Phil Hellmuth, that he gets the name Poker Brat for a reason. That's why, like, it's entertaining, and I think he knows it's entertaining. But you know, if you're really watching him,
He's really pissed though,
he's
dude.
pissed
He's
though.
really pissed. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
not a fucking act. He's
yeah,
mad.
it's not an act at all. He's
He's
pissed.
big mad. He's big mad. I
Yeah,
saw, it's funny because last summer I saw Raymer. I saw Raymer, you know, the guy who won the main event like a while back for the
yeah,
big. I saw him. It was a freeze out tournament. He got knocked out in the first hand of the tournament with pocket kings versus pocket aces. Nicest guy about it, no big deal. You know what I'm saying? I don't remember the hand that Helmuth got knocked out with, but he was just berating this dude. He's like, "How can you make that call? You're the worst poker player I've ever seen." Blah blah blah. It's
yeah,
really funny because it's like everyone gets that frustrated, right? But like, bro, you gotta learn to tone it down. But that's just me.
yeah.
That's my style. It
Yeah.
works for him. He's Phil Hellmuth, and I'm just some fat guy from the Midwest. So
No. Well, I mean, that plays into the strategy too. Like, there's players that are big talkers at the table. There's players that are super friendly, like D-Negs. There's players that don't say anything at all. And then there's players that are talkative, but there's also another level of the talking with players that where they try to get in your head and they try to get you to show your cards and stuff like that. So it just all depends on the table, and that's why I like poker so much. It to make a comparison. This might sound crazy, but it's similar to golf because you know obviously two totally different games and sports, but the aspect of there's so many different scenarios and like and you have to read your table
and
and
it's a lot of head too. You know, it's
yeah,
like golf. You start getting
mental,
in your
yeah,
head, your game just falls apart. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
poker's the same way. Like, you know, like you go on a bad run for a while, and all of a sudden you figure you're doomed for that bad run, and then the bad run continues. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's a lot of there's a lot of variables. I think that's why I like poker too. You know what I
hmm,
mean? Because like, so I am Captain ADHD, right? Tiny house builder, building a sauna, building a fucking mobile sauna. You know, making cutting boards, charcuterie boards, pens, fucking being a professor, right? I'm doing 47 things at once. That's what I like about the poker table is because like my ADHD is like a superpower at the poker table because I'm seeing everything and I'm thinking about everything. I'm watching, you know. So when I'm not in the hand, this is one of the big things that I tell young players. When you're not in the hand, pay attention. Don't just get on your phone. Don't just start on your social media. Watch the other players. Look for those tells. You know what I mean? And so like what I like about poker for me is I'm always thinking on like 3 different levels, right? Like at the same time. Like right now, as we're doing this, I'm looking over the computer screen here and I'm seeing this charcuterie board that I've got to finish up tomorrow, right? And I'm thinking about that. And then I'm also thinking about, oh man, I got to get that. I sold off my jukebox. So I got to get that jukebox out of here while I'm talking to you, while I'm talking about the WSOP. Well, and so what I like about poker is I'm engaging on all those levels at the same time. I'm watching what's happening at the table. I'm watching what's happening between the people not playing. I'm watching the players watching other players playing, right? And so like what I like about poker is that I'm just constantly engaged. You know what I mean? And I like that. I need that. I love it.
Yeah, and that's what it takes to be good. And I think that's a reason why, you're so good and you're considered a pro and you've had so much success. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. And like you mentioned, you could be on your last leg in a tournament, and then next thing you know, you get a couple big hands, then you may be the chip leader. And especially when you get further into the tournament and you're on your last leg or you're on your last couple blinds, the blinds are so big at that point that you could just sit, play conservative, wait for a big hand, and the next thing you're one of the big stacks at the table. So
I had it happen. I had it happen last summer. I was in a tournament with Fireman Scott is the guy's name. He ended up winning a PLO bracelet. And I played with him like 2 days after he won that PLO bracelet. So he was still flush on that. So he ended up, I forget the hand, but we got it in on the turn and I was a huge favorite. I think he had a flush draw. And he ended up calling and he hit his flush draw on the river. And I was mad at him, right? I'm like, you bastard, you just won a bracelet 3 days ago. Can't you let the rest of us eat? Well, he ended up knocking me down so that I had 2 big blinds left. I was down to 2 big blinds. And I ended up fighting back from 2 big blinds and fucking cashing in that tournament. And like, I only finished like 120th place or something. But out of like 4,000
yeah,
people,
that's
when
good.
I was
Yeah.
down to 2 big blinds, I ended up clawing my way back and making the
Mhm.
money. That was,
Yeah.
I mean, now granted, that was just so I was on a steamer too. So like immediately after that, I was all in 4 hands in a row, all in, all in. Not even looking at my cards, going all in. So I'm getting callers. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that was a fun one. So the chip in the chair bullshit is true. It's true. You can drag that shit out, and who knows what's gonna happen.
Yeah, no, it's all part of the game, and man, that's awesome stuff. And like we mentioned before the show, like we mentioned during the show, we could talk poker all day. I want to get to your tiny house stuff now. I
Sure.
mean, your tiny house, Tom, man. We got to talk about the tiny house stuff. So, uh, how did you start with the tiny house stuff? And we've talked about this before. You said HGTV was at your house, and kind of explain more of that and just how you've gotten the tiny house stuff going at such a high rate.
Well, so it all started with I wanted a place. So we bought this new farm, right? And we had 9 acres at the time. Now we have 15 acres because I bought the place next door to me. But we had 9 acres, and I wanted to being a professor, and my kid was like freaking 4 at the time. I wanted a place where I could just get away. So I really just built this thing out back. It's only 10 by 20. It's got 16-foot cathedral ceilings. It's got 2 lofts in it. I wanted a place where I could just go and chill, right? Where I could get some grading done. Well, after I built it, my brother, who's a Michigan guy, he did his undergrad and his master's at Michigan. He's like, dude, this would do really well because I live in Ann Arbor. This would do really well here in Ann Arbor. You should rent this thing. So I posted it on it's funny. This is how my name came about. I posted it on an Airbnb and I started renting it out. What I would do is every morning when we had a new guest, I would shoot them a text and say, hey, this is Tiny House Tom, just seeing what time you're going to be checking into your tiny house tonight, right? Just so that way they knew exactly who I was. Well, then I got on TikTok and I'm like, what should I call myself? And my niece was like, Tiny House Tom, of course. And so Tiny House Tom was born. It's done really well on Airbnb. I'm having some issues with my township right now, so I'm not renting it out anymore. Yeah, it did remarkably well. I mean, you can look up Ann Arbor tiny house on Airbnb, and you can see that I think we have, I don't know, 4.99 rating out of like 300 reviews, something like that. So we've done very well. The reviews are great.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
And I
And
like it.
yeah, oh, that's great. And you're also doing the sauna thing as well. Now, tell us about that. Is that connected with the tiny house stuff, or is that its own separate thing?
Oh, so I have this weird thing for building tiny spaces. I don't know what it is. Like, so I build vans, right? Like van life builds. My buddy Alex, K2 Alex, you know Alex.
Hmm.
I built a van for him, a van life van, which God, he beat the piss out of that thing. But I have this thing for building small spaces. I just like to build. I don't know what it is. I like to build little spaces. And I when I was out in California last time visiting Alex, his cousin Hunter is like a fitness influencer, and he has a sauna and a cold plunge. And so I did the sauna cold plunge thing, and I'm like, oh my God, this is really nice. You know what I mean? Well, then I get back home and I've been thinking about, God, I want to build one. I want to build one. I want to build one. And then I'm like, well, the township might fuck with me because, you have to get permits and shit for things like that. But if I build it on a trailer and it's mobile, the township can't mess with me, right? Well, then as I'm thinking about building it on a trailer, I'm like, shit, I could rent this thing out, right? So yeah, it's coming to fruition right now. I've got my name locked down. I've got my LLC squared away. My lawyer is looking into any like business licenses that I have to get, but like there's like no permitting for it because it's such a specific business. So yeah, so essentially, when this thing is done, I'm gonna drive it up to your place. It's gonna have a 3-foot porch on the back of it, so just enough for a couple of seats. It's going to have a cold plunge on the outside. It's going to have like a 5x8 dressing room and then an 8x10 sauna. So it's going to be, excuse me, I shouldn't say it the Finnish way. The Finns call it a sauna. Americans call it a sauna. I'm just going to
Hmm.
call it a sauna from here on out.
Yeah.
Uh, my buddies are Finns. And so, like, if I call it a sauna, they go, hey, it's a sauna. You're going to take a
Yeah.
sauna, Tom? You're going to take a sauna?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I say, it's technically supposed to be pronounced sauna. So the nice thing about this particular one too is the actual sauna itself is going to be big enough that like if you do hot yoga, you can do hot yoga in it because an 8x10 sauna is pretty big. So yeah, it's going to be wood fire. It's going to be pretty awesome, and it's going to look like a tiny house on a trailer.
That's great, man. And when it comes to your teaching stuff, you've been teaching for a while. And I was in your class, and English was my strong suit. Like, and I think that's why, I do well in your class. And it's all because of the student I am. It had nothing to do with you.
Nothing
Like,
to do
you're
with
like,
me.
no, dude, you were like my favorite teacher, man, honestly. So,
I'm a dying breed, man. They're running me out, bro. They are running me out.
dude, it's
Like
because you don't take any BS, man. That's what's great about you, man. Like, if people showed up late, then you kick them out. Like, dude, you didn't take any BS. So that's what I really like about you, man.
I'm a
And
dying breed, man. I'm a dying breed. They're running me out. I bet in the next 3 years I won't have a job. You watch. Like
no,
so,
man, they
you know
need
how
people like you.
yeah, they don't get that though. And it's funny because like so enrollment is down so low and they can't figure out why, right? Well, it's because you're taking all the soul out of the instructors. You know what I mean? Like so like me in class, I swear a lot and stuff, and like but it's not like I mean, I'll call people motherfuckers in class, but not like I'm not like motherfucking you like I'm angry. I'm like this motherfucker just rolling in late. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, so I got in a bunch of trouble last semester for it, right? And so I said to class, I walked in one day and I'm like, "Buenos dias, bitches," just being silly. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Motherfuckers brought me up on a Title IX grievance, saying that I was
No
like,
way.
calling students bitches, and I'm like, "Oh my god, dude! Like, yeah,
It's
it's totally up."
college students just trying to start drama. That's all it is.
It is. It's the kids who don't do shit, and so they're mad at me, and so they're looking
Yeah,
at something
that's
that,
all it is.
and that's unfortunately that's kind of the way education is now. You know what I mean? Because in K through 12, you're not allowed to fail students anymore. So we get these students who come to college, they're not used to deadlines, and you know me, like I give them 4 weeks to write a 4-page paper, and if you don't write a 4-page paper in 4 weeks, you fail the class, and I think that's pretty legit, and I'm pretty open about it and pretty clear about it. But people still want to chirp. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah,
No,
my education career is coming to a close, I think.
well, I hope it keeps going for you, man. Like, I
I
hope
enjoy
it
it.
keeps
I
going
still
for you.
love it. Like I hate grading papers. It's a nightmare, but like I love being in the classroom. I love working with young folks. I like helping them, especially now because they're so disconnected. They don't talk to each other. Like you walk into a classroom and it's just dead silent. Everybody's just staring at their phones. And
Yeah.
so like I'm trying to give them like assignments where they work with each other, where they make friends with each other. Cause like I read their journals, right? I have them, well, I have them write journals.
Hmm.
And they're so sad and lonely, bro. They're like, I don't understand. I thought college was going to be so fun. I was going to make so many friends. I don't understand why I don't talk to anyone. bro, it's because you're on your phone constantly, and that's
Yeah.
all you do. You know what I'm saying? Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm checking TikTok here. Thanks for joining
No.
us. This is
Yeah,
Brian
do your thing.
Pearson, by the way. Make sure to follow him. I'll tag him in some posts afterwards, but make sure to follow him on Instagram and on TikTok.
Thank you, sir. What's up, guys? Thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, and there's not a lot of college professors out there like you who don't take BS. Now, high school is different, like, because they can't take BS, but you're more like nose to the grindstone, which, that's what I liked about you at Eastern,
Well,
and
my thing is like, so I try to be firm but fair, right? I treat
yeah,
everybody
and you were fair
exactly.
too. Yeah.
I don't care if you're like a star athlete or if you're a schmo. I don't care if you're in the military or, I don't care. Nobody is special to me. You know what I mean? You're all the same. They're all singing, all dancing crap of the world. You know what I'm saying? Maybe your mom thinks you're a unique and individual snowflake. I do not, right? And so I let them know that right away. I'm like, hey, look, sometimes you need an uncle to give you a hug. Sometimes you need an uncle to give you a kick in the ass. I'm the kick in the ass uncle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
that being said, like I also tell them, hey, look, I care as much as you care. If you want to meet me on a Saturday morning at a coffee shop because you're struggling, I'm in. But if you don't give a shit, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care about your grade more than you do. And I think that really surprises them. I think it's weird for them to hear that what the teacher doesn't care about my grade. No, I don't. If you don't care, I don't care. If you
Yeah.
care, I'm all in, bro. And if you don't care, I don't give a shit. I have
Right.
124 more look just like you.
Yeah, it's just about putting in the time, and like you said, I mean, it like for me, and English was my strong suit, and your class was hard for me, but in a good way. Like it was hard but fair, and it was challenging. But that's what you want out of a class because it challenges you to be better. And
One would think. I mean,
yeah,
currently I think students are just so coddled in high school. There's no one says no to them. You know what I mean? Like they can turn in shit whenever they want to turn it in. There's no deadlines, there's no repercussions. Everybody's using AI. You know what I mean? So like it's like yeah, and it's not good for them. I know they're like, oh, this guy, he's so rough, he swears and and it's like, dude, that's what the world is like. The world is not a safe space for you. You know what I mean? So I'm not trying to intimidate you or scare you or you know what I mean, but like I'm trying to give you a dose of reality. This is what's going to happen when you get out in the world. You know what I mean? Like your boss is not going to care about a microaggression. He wants your fucking work done on time. You know
mhm.
what I'm saying? Like and I don't mean to come across as like, like I'm not I'm slightly to
You're
the
just
left. I'm
keeping
slightly
it
to the
real,
left of
man.
Karl Marx. You know what I'm saying? But like on the same token, I'm a realist. You know what I mean? I'm a
Yeah.
military dude. You know what I mean? Like the world does not care about you and the world doesn't owe you shit. The world owes you
Mhm.
nothing. And that's I try to like the kids today, like they're not grateful for anything. And I'm like, look, dude, anybody who does a nice thing for you, they don't have to. Don't expect it. So be grateful. And the thing is like if you're grateful and positive and you work hard, good things happen. And if
Mhm.
you're a whiny bitch, good things don't
Yeah,
happen. You
yeah,
know?
for
I
sure,
can
man.
say it here, right? Well, I can say bitch all I want.
Yeah, yeah, man. And like nowadays, and even back when I was in school, the kids weren't really prepared for college. Now, I did the ECA, Early College Alliance, and that was a big help for me just in terms of getting the college experience early. That helped me,
I didn't
in
realize you
college,
did.
I think,
Okay. So
because
you didn't know college
I
is
already
like
knew what it was like to take college classes.
yeah.
So, I mean, that was a big help for me. And yeah, no, it's great talking to you about the teaching stuff. Great talking poker. We talked tiny house stuff, and so I kind of want to wrap up the show and
Cool.
asking, what are your plans for this year in terms of like what kind of stuff do you got going, throughout the rest of the year or summer, whether it's poker, whether it's tiny house stuff, whether it's sauna stuff.
Yeah, the sauna thing is kind of my big thing right now. I want to get that built. I want to get one of those things up and running in the next couple of months. I want to make sure I have all my insurance and stuff squared away, but I want to get those going because honestly, I love a sauna and a cold plunge. I fucking love it. Like I'm gonna do it. I'm building it for me, honestly. And if I rent it out, great. And if I don't, that's okay too. So right now, that's where a ton of my focus is on. I've already booked my Vegas trip. I'm only doing 3 weeks right now. We'll see how that goes. My buddy who I rent the condo from, he's pretty flexible. So like last year, I was only supposed to go for 2 weeks, and I ended up going for 6 weeks. The year before, I was only supposed to go for 2 weeks. I ended up going for 4 weeks. So we'll see how that goes. I'm definitely going to be out in Vegas for a little while this summer. And then I am taking my wife and kid to Europe this summer too. So my whole family and I are going to Italy for like 2 weeks. And then my wife is coming home, and then I'm taking my 11-year-old daughter backpacking across Europe. So we're going to have like another week where we go backpacking across Europe and stuff. So it's going to be a
Oh,
big summer. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. I'm excited about it.
yeah, that would be awesome, man. That's great stuff to hear. And
Yeah.
Tom, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been a great show. You know, we talked about a lot of stuff, and I definitely would like to have you on the show again if you're interested. I mean,
Oh
like we
yeah, dude.
mentioned, like we can make this a weekly thing if we want. Like I think it'd be great for
We really
you, for
could,
me to get my
and
following up.
I have a lot of friends too on here and on Instagram that are poker players that I'm
Uh-huh.
sure would love to come on and talk poker. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh man,
Like
that would be
Fireman
great.
Scott,
Yeah.
he's a bracelet winner, so he's much more legit than I am, and he's a real nice guy. He's like he's a Texas Card House ambassador down in Texas. Like he has parlayed his bracelet into like a whole career, not just playing, but like being a poker ambassador down there because poker is so huge in Texas. And I'm
Mhm.
sure he'd be interested in being a guest. He's a real good guy too. So
Yeah. Sounds great, man. Well, thank you so much again. It's been great talking with you. And I'd like to thank your TikTok followers as well. If you joined the live show, if you commented, thank you so much. You can follow me on TikTok. I'm just getting started at Brian Pearson 66. And you already know what Tom's info is if you're following him. And when it comes to Instagram, at underscore Brian Pearson is my Instagram name. And then for Tom, it's at Tiny House Tom. Tom, thank you again so much. It's been great having you on the show and great talking with you. It's always fun, and I look forward to having you on the show again sometime soon.
sounds good, brother. All right, take care, man.
Awesome, bro. You take care too, man.
See you.
See ya.